welcome to my channel, Bow and Arrow Tarot. We're going to be answering the question today of somebody may have ghosted you. You're trying to figure out whether or not they're even thinking about you. Do they even care? You know, maybe you've been in a long-term relationship, or maybe you've been in a short-term relationship, but it was really powerful. You really felt something, right? And then all of a sudden they disappeared, right? All of a sudden they just left. No communication, or they're not contacting you, they're not answering you, and you just feel like you're at a complete loss, right? So we're going to look at that, and I'm going to get out 3 piles of cards for you to choose. Pick your pile, right? And then that will be your reading, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and shuffle the cards for right now. You won't hear me. I'm just going to let the music play, and you'll see the shuffling of the cards. I'll probably speed it up a little bit, and then we'll get right into the actual reading, all right? All right, here we go.
What do you really want? What do you want to happen in life? Figure out some way in which you get paid for playing.
All right, folks, let's get right into it. I hope you've had a chance to go and meditate on the different piles. You see me lay out the cards, right? I hope that you've had a chance to send your intention out so that you could feel which deck or which pile of cards you're resonating with the most. We're going to take each pile in turn and read the cards and see why it is this situation has happened, right? And so the question we're looking at is why you've had a very close connection with someone that up until now felt completely right, but somewhere along the line they left. They stopped communicating with you. They ghosted you in some way. And they really haven't given you an explanation. And you simply can't understand why, because you know you felt something, right? And so we have the Beautiful Creatures deck, which is representative of your other person. And we have the Aleister Crowley deck, Thoth deck, which I've pulled representative of you. And we can see right away that at the bottom of the deck we have the Sun. And on the bottom of the deck for this, we have the Ace of Pentacles. So for you, a lot of you, this is about realization. And for a lot of the people that you guys are all dealing with, regardless of which pile you pick, there's an issue to do with money, right? Abundance, finances, cash. But we're going to get right into it. I timestamped the video, so you will know where to start. We're going to start with this pile first, and then we'll go on to the second one, and then the third one, from left to right, okay? And the information will be time-stamped on the video and in the description box, so that you can just go ahead and fast forward to your selection. All right, so let's get right into it. Move these up a little. All right, immediately we have Seven of Cups, the Sun, and Three of Swords. Wow, okay. We have for your two animal spirit cards, we have the Cosmic Egg and we have the Peacock. Interesting. I'm gonna say the Peacock is almost down here, right? And then for you we have the Hanged Man, the Devil, and Three of Pentacles. Softly, softly, the tender touch, and free from judgment, right? Free to love, all right? So, just move this up just a little bit so we can get all the cards in, see them all. Right away, we're talking about two individuals here who are at odds, right? I mean, right? One of you is presenting like the Peacock and the other one is presenting with the Cosmic Egg. All right, so this is the alchemical symbol for ether. All right, so in alchemy we have 5 elements. We have the 4 elements of air, water, fire, and earth, but we also have the alchemical element of ether, which is the spirit, right? The spirit world, which cannot really be defined in any other element as ether, you know, apart from ether, right? And then we have air energy for the peacock, of course, right? So the peacock is quite interesting. The peacock is the type of animal that, you know, it struts its feathers, doesn't it? It wants the world to see it, right? There's a sense of beauty. There's a sense, you know, on the positive side, there's a sense of inner knowing, right? When they open up, there's a sense of beauty and inner knowing that comes from the peacock. It's almost as if, you know, they're at their most glorious is when their feathers are open, right? But when their feathers are closed, you almost don't even see how beautiful they can be, right? You almost wonder, like, wow, what's underneath that plume of feathers, you know? And so you're kind of like not really ever seeing the full splendor of the peacock unless they're strutting, unless they're performing, and they do that. When do they do that? When they're trying to find a mate. So the peacock is the person who's going to put on their best show when they're trying to get you, right? But once they have you, it's almost as if all those feathers that they opened up to get you kind of close back down, right? It's like everything that they've done, that they strutted around to kind of entice you in, right? It's all kind of shut down now, right? And you're coming from, I want to say, very much a cosmic egg energy, right? Because you're kind of thinking on a higher level, you know. The cosmic egg is, let me just double check. I want to say that it's the 7th chakra. I could be wrong. I want to make sure.
All stars in the sky.
Yes, the cosmic egg is the final chakra. It's the 7th chakra. So it's the crown chakra, right? It's when we realize how we fit into the universe. It's completion, it's harmony. You're feeling very complete right now. You're feeling quite harmonious. It could be that in this relationship, I wonder if you aren't already feeling a lot of this harmony regardless of this individual, right? So it's kind of interesting that you have the sun presenting and they have Ace of Pentacles presenting, and the sun is all about abundance and awakening, realization. I wonder if you haven't gone through a particular realization when this individual came into your life and they strutted in front of you and it got you interested in everything, and you were in kind of this space that was very open, right? Happy, enlightened, right? And this is not to say that this individual was necessarily nefarious or purposely manipulating you or anything like that. But certainly, I believe you were drawing them in, right? Certainly, you were drawing them in. It's almost as if the peacock, it opens its wings to attract a mate, but it's your kind of like sunshine that was blazing that drew them in, right? And you're at this point right now where you're very spiritually in tune. You're living a life that's very in tune with who you are. And so you're vibrating at a really beautiful level, at a very beautiful harmonic. And so you're naturally going to draw a lot of different types of individuals to you who seek to have some of that radiance, right, that you see here. So I wonder how this relationship may have started off like that, right? It could have very much been a case of, you know, this person kind of came towards you, didn't they? And they like showed you all their feathers, and you kind of were like, yeah, you know, let me see what that's all about, right? Okay, let's go a little bit deeper now. So your person is, though, 7 of Cups. It's, I wonder, 7 of Cups, the sun is coming out again, and then 3 of Swords, right? So it's almost as if 7 of Cups is all about delusions, right? 7 of Cups is kind of selling a dream, you know, selling a dream, selling an idea, pipe dreams, right? 7 of Cups is when you dream about pipe dreams. You have delusions of grandeur, you know, you in the traditional deck, it's the person who sees this cloud with all of these cups, but the cups are filled with a lot of really like delusional things, like grandeur things, right? So one cup is overflowing with jewels, and one cup has a castle, and it's kind of like, you know, when somebody sells you a fantasy, right? I almost wonder if this person wasn't selling a fantasy with their peacock feathers, right? Not really being true to who they were, and I think they saw an opportunity with you. I'm gonna be honest, with that Ace of Pentacles, I think this person saw an opportunity with you that was about money, right? They saw that you were shining, you're living your best life, and they put on all of the kind of like airs and everything to kind of pull you in and make you feel as though this is a perfect mate for you. And probably because you're feeling so good already and feeling so kind of enlightened and feeling like you're vibrating higher, probably because you've come out of a period of hangman energy. So I think before this person came along, you were very stuck already. You were kind of, maybe you were stuck in a certain kind of life that wasn't really like expansive in any kind of way. It was hanged man, right? You were quite comfortable. But I wonder if this awakening, this sunshine, this awakening, because the hanged man comes in when we're already awake, right? And I wonder if for him to show up, to already be awake, it's almost as if that process started before this individual came and sold and was selling you kind of these dreams, making them out to be like themselves, to be kind of like your perfect person, showing all the feathers. And I wonder if you didn't kind of believe that maybe the awakening you had been going through was as a result of them, right? And so maybe you thought it was because of them coming into your life, when this may have been very much a happy coincidence, right? Or more or less that they saw you coming into an awakening, and they're coming in. They may not have been aware of how stuck you were before, or they may have. But it's more or less that it's your thinking, right? You're thinking like, wow, I'm so into this person because they came along just at the right time. The sun is here for clarity. So it's interesting because you have devil energy here, and then they have clarity. And so clarity is like, just like the sun here. It's almost as if they realized, hang on a second, you know, something woke them up, gave them clarity. And here we have Three of Swords, which is third party energy, lying. I wonder if this person doesn't have somebody on the side or have another relationship, right? Because when the sun comes in to kind of cut clarity into all of this delusion, we have Three of Swords, we have heartbreak. So somewhere along the line, it's almost as if they were going to be found out. Maybe they were going to be found out for what they were selling you, and so they left because of that. Right? They didn't want to face the music. They didn't want to face the fact that they weren't living up to their expectations. It could be that they were telling you all along that they had a certain project or something that they were going to do, right? And they failed, or they weren't able to do it. And it could very well be that they don't want to face you. They don't want to face you in amidst this failure. They may have offered you or promised you a lot, right? And then when the realization came in that this opportunity wasn't going to happen, I think they may have also scared them off, and they decided to just cut ties rather than face the music, right? Somewhere something was going to be clarified that was going to show that they were selling lies, or not necessarily lies, but certainly embellishing who they are. Here's the devil coming in. So it's like passion, right? So you were really passionate. I think the sex was probably really amazing, right? I think the physical energy between you and this person was probably really, really good. And that was another reason why you felt like, wow, you know, this might be a much more serious relationship. You're probably seeing in it more potential than the way they were coming at it. Certainly they were coming into this relationship, I think, with a level of grandeur that wasn't really real to who they were. They were selling themselves to be certainly more than they are, right? But there was certainly very highly passionate feeling here, right? And you're working, so you're also bringing works in. So Three of Discs talks about Mars and Capricorn. You have abundance that comes in as a result of your hard work. This could be another reason why they came towards you, because like I said, you have Ace of Pentacles here. So Ace of Pentacles talks about a new opportunity for abundance, right? And so at the bottom of the deck, for them to have this level of a seeking or idea of new abundance, it almost seems as if, you know, it's like they thought in you they could get abundance. And I don't mean that maybe they wanted to steal or really be sort of criminal, but almost that they saw an opportunity. You know what I mean? This person was very opportunistic, very self-involved, right? And I think, and so when we're looking at the question of, you know, how they could possibly just cut communication, how they could just ghost you like that, and if they're even thinking or care, I think they care, right? I think they care very much. But I think the problem here is that they were trying to sell an image of themselves that wasn't very true. And eventually that was going to catch up with them. They just weren't going to be able to keep up the facade. And also that part of the reason why they even came towards you was because it was a feeling of possible opportunity there. I'm not sure if they necessarily expected to be this passionate. They didn't necessarily think maybe that the sex would be this good or that they would feel so much physically. It could be that they initially came in just kind of playing a game. This is very player energy, right? But player energy with the type of player who eventually lies kind of, they come out, you know, to the surface. And a lot of times when people are about to be found out, that's when they ghost, when they split, you know. Again, this could be that, you know, they may have promise commitment when they have another girlfriend or boyfriend, and of course they can't be committed. And eventually you would find that out, because during the course of a relationship you figure it out. Or something to do with money, I want to say, more or less, that they were, maybe selling this idea that they were going to be very successful at something, and when it's fallen through, they really have nothing to offer you. And so that embarrassment, that kind of, because they were strutting around like a peacock, weren't they? And that embarrassment is making them feel like they're just going to run. They'd rather run than face you, because you're doing so well. You have works going on in the sun, and so this individual certainly feels very insecure in the face of your abundance and your success. So the oracle, the sacred rebel oracle, tells us softly, softly, the tender touch. Right? So don't force anything right now, right? Listen to softly, softly, the tender touch is the divine feminine at work. Isn't this a beautiful card? I mean, I love this deck, Sacred Rebel. The Sacred Rebel Oracle deck is just one of the best oracle decks I've ever seen. I'm so happy to have it. But softly, softly, tender touch talks about embodying the divine feminine, nurturing for yourself, understanding where people are coming from. This person has a lot of self-esteem issues. They go through life wearing a certain mask, embellishing themselves, right? And so in a way they need nurturing. They don't necessarily need to be with you, but in a way they almost are a pitiful creature, right? Because it's like they're just very much chasing their tail, the embarrassment that they must feel, the insecurities. And again, I say this not to say that you should feel sorry for them, because too oftentimes we stay with people because we feel sorry for them. But at this time, this particular separation is a person who was never going to be able to keep up with you anyway, right? They were never going to be able to match you anyway. And so if you see that from that point of view, they're quite pitiful and really demand kind of that, or I don't even want to say demand or deserve, but it's okay to kind of look at this situation as almost like a nurturing, like, wow, not feel sorry, but just to say, not to feel hateful necessarily, right? Because this person is so under your level, when you compare the cosmic egg to the peacock, right? I mean, there couldn't be two more separate characters or elements. There's nothing really here. This peacock was never going to rise to the cosmic egg level, right? They were only ever going to be strutting the peacock. And so then we also have free from judgment, free to love, right? And again, if you're feeling guilty or you're feeling bad about this person leaving, understand that this person was never going to be on your level, right? Is that camera focusing? Okay. This person was never going to be on your level. And I think that a lot of the excitement you felt, a lot of the newness that you were feeling with this person was in fact you simply beginning a new journey. You simply coming into a new phase, awakening off of this hangman energy. Something happened before this person came, which was more the catalyst to you coming out of this energy, right? And as a result, bringing this individual in. But don't get it confused with this individual having brought the sun with them. The sun for you was going to come anyway. And so the sooner you kind of don't concern yourself with whether this individual comes back or not, the sooner you can get back into your sun, right? Which was there by virtue of your life, not by virtue of them coming into your life, okay? Free yourself from judgment. Don't feel like there was something you did. This person was always going to be found out. This was always going to come to a head at some point, because this individual just could not keep up the facade. All right? All right. Here we go. This is the call. This is it for this pile, okay? I'm going to put these away now and go right into the next reading. Okay, so this is number 2 now. All right, so what do we have here? Knight, King of Swords, Knight of Wands, and Death. Interesting, interesting. The two elementals we have here. We have the elk and the bat. Wow, right? So one is air and one is earth energy. All right, and I want to say, let's put the elk down for your person. Now this could be vice versa, of course, right? You could resonate more with either or reading, but the way I see it is this, I always, my intention when I'm pulling the cards is that these cards, beautiful creature cards, represent your person and these represent you. Now in terms of the spirit animals, yeah, they could be a bit of either or both depending, right? But the elk, interestingly enough, so when we talk about the elk, we talk about kind of an awareness, right? An awareness, a stubborn awareness. And with that, with those horns, you can see the horns that are pointing up, almost as if to receive, right? But we talk about a creature who's very stubborn. We talk about a creature that has very masculine energy, a father figure, resilient, stable, very earthy. This is an individual, I want to say, it's whether they're male or female, they're very, very established in themselves. They know who they are, right? They can't be swayed. They can't be pulled into somebody else's idea of who they are. Sometimes their ego can be extremely inflated, right? So, elk energy can be really kind of, they're almost wearing like a crown of horns, right? So this energy, this resilience, this stubbornness, right, can lead to kind of like a big head, I want to say, you know. A very stubborn individual thinks they're kind of the shit. They're the gift, you know, they're the gift to women or they're the gift to men or whatever, you know. So that's quite interesting because I'm not surprised that this is your ghoster, right? Because it almost seems like this person's split because they got their hackles up. Somebody, you know, they got insulted. They got pissed off in some kind of way. You know, something didn't go their way. And they're so stubborn and they're so pig-headed that they just kind of split, I want to say. So now with bat energy, we have, you know, death and rebirth, right? We have letting go. It's quite interesting that we have death down here. But we do have death and rebirth. The bat is the master of subtle senses, right? So he's the one who can feel the underlying forces that are at play. The bat also signifies the end of a chapter, the closing of a door, right? And it encourages us to move forward. I almost wonder, right? Is the bat your person or you? Because the bat certainly is talking about, you know, the end of a period in your life, right? Understanding, picking up on energies that let you know it's time to move to another stage. It's definitely a transformative. It's very much related to the death card in that way. So one of you has very much like understood that it was time for this relationship to end. And one of you was extremely stubborn about it, right? And maybe did not want this to happen or did not want this to go forward, right? And I almost wondered, you know, maybe the bat is the ghoster. It almost seems, you know, it's interesting. The bat could be the ghoster because they decided to leave because there was no other way if the elk was being stubborn. Or the bat could be you, and you understanding that the relationship needed to either change or come to an end the way it was now. And this person was so pig-headed about it that they were like, rather than to change or rather than to evolve with the relationship, they just decided to leave. They didn't want to work. They didn't want to put the effort in. King of Swords talks about being strict, right? King of Swords is very logical. Generally, the indication, a positive indication of King of Swords is it's Aquarius energy, right? So it's the individual who works through problems, who figures them out, who's willing to work with everyone. Let's get this. All right, there we go. Who's willing to work with everyone, who cuts through the lies, right? Who holds people accountable. He also is the great rule maker, the great disciplinarian as well, right? But oftentimes, this can go the other way too, and he can just be too harsh. He can just be too unyielding. It could very much be that your person was just like unwilling, unwilling to kind of, unwilling to change, right? The way you needed them to change, right? You have 8 of Cups. So 8 of Cups certainly talks about putting up boundaries in relationships. You've figured out there's certain boundaries that you need in relationships for you to be strong. This is Saturn and Pisces energy, right? So you're understanding that restrictions sometimes are necessary, boundaries are necessary, lest you be the 2 lotus flowers that are just constantly pouring into these cups that are, broken and jagged and not filling you up, not giving you anything in return, right? Nothing in return, right? So it's like you realize that this person was not giving you what you needed. And so you tried to communicate. Look at this, Knight of Swords and Knight of Wands. You tried to communicate with them about it, right? To have this conversation, change the scenario, say, look, let's talk about it, right? But this person's been very stubborn. Knight of Wands wanted what Knight of Wands wants. Right? And so this is kind of like you guys are clashing in a way. You have fire and air coming together, which usually can be quite harmonious, but sometimes they can clash. They can just burn each other up, right? It's almost as if like you're both very strong characters, and although you are trying very much with your words, perhaps this person is not as able to communicate as you are. Certainly with that energy, you're able to communicate and pick up on energies that most people are not. So it could very well be that you just couldn't see eye to eye. The communication isn't there, and they were just very much going after what they want. The Knight of Wands goes after what he wants. He's not stopped. And certainly with this kind of elkish, kind of obstinate, bullheaded energy, right? This stubborn energy, he won't be stopped, or she won't be stopped. It's almost as if you can't reason with her, right? And so I feel like this is almost at an impasse, right? You almost come to an impasse. And then here's the Magician coming in for you, and Death coming in for your person. So it's almost as if I want to feel like this person was like one of these individuals who were like, okay, fine. I'm not willing to work on this. If you don't want me the way I am, I'm not willing to change. I'm not willing to budge. I'm not willing to compromise. So guess what? Death. I'll see you later. And these are this is just one of these type of individuals that is very stubborn in that way, very pig-headed, very quick to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so they've decided to just split. And no matter how good things may have felt at some point, or maybe how much you wanted to make them work, no matter how much you wanted to be the magician in this scenario and make the things work, right? It just wasn't working. How can you be the magician when the person that you're trying to, manifest with is just willing to let it die, just willing to let it go? And in this way, we talk about transformation, but we're talking about a transformation that happened because somebody insisted it, right? Rather than bringing you with them through the transformation into a better relationship, they allowed kind of the transformation to happen in such a sense of just killing the relationship. And there's really nothing that you could do, as much as you try to sort of work your magic, right? Try everything you can to sort of make something happen here. Allow them, get them to understand that there may have been room for you guys to work out if you could just come to some common ground, but they're just simply too stubborn, right? And I think so the bat is here for you because it's time for you to understand that this is just the end of this. It's time to move forward from this relationship. The bat comes in when it's time for us to face the fact that this relationship has indeed died. There's no point in bringing this individual back, or wanting this individual back, or waiting for this individual to come back, because they are fundamentally against change. This is the type of person who will come back and say to you, okay, now are you ready to have me the way I am? You know what I mean? You're going to think they come back because they're ready to change or they're ready to compromise, and they come back and they're not at all ready to compromise. They're still the same stubborn person they always were, and they simply will not change, right? And so a lot of, again, Ace of Pentacles, this could also revolve around issues to do with money, right? You could be caring about things for them and they're just taking it for granted, right? So when we get into the Sacred Rebel Oracle here, beyond the mind, the heart beats, right? So it's time to listen very much. So this is very close to kind of this bat energy, because the bat listens to extrasensory kind of information that comes in, right? Through his abilities, right? Through his perception abilities. So here it's time to still the mind. Stop thinking about what you did wrong. Stop thinking about, how much more you could have done, or how much more you could have communicated, or if you could have just got him to see or her to see your way, or to see how there was a way to move forward. There's nothing you can do. And oftentimes, it's time for you to just let your heart lead you, right? I'm sure that this has been a very difficult time with this person. And you've been, for the most part, not that happy. But yet, always the promise, right? The promise, the desire to look forward to a better time with this individual, or maybe to make things work with this individual. And sometimes when things aren't right, but we hope they're right, we live in hope. Right? We live in hope, in the hope of. But the reality of our situation is hopeless almost. It's not happening in the reality. And so we're suffering, living this relationship or this life with this person. We're truly actually suffering, but we're thinking that it's all okay because we're always living in that hope that it will get better. It's a very weird way of perceiving how you live to not really be as miserable as it is, right? It's almost like you see your surroundings through these rose-colored glasses of how you wish it to be. Well, I wish it to be like this. Maybe if it'll be like this after a while. I can survive this if I know that this is at the end of the rainbow, right? Or if this relationship is going to go somewhere better. But the truth of the matter is that you have to listen to your heart. Your own heart and your true inner voice that will tell you that no, you're just overthinking this, right? Follow your heart, and understand that it's time to move on. Power of attraction is coming in, right? So the power of attraction is living in the moment, understanding that this is not your fault, being powerful in the moment. Right now, this moment calls for you to be very, very powerful, in that you have to understand that this was simply the end of a relationship. The fact that this person ended it in such a way that they just left and closed all contact is a testament to how stubborn they are, right? Is a testament to how much you were not going to be able to grow with them anyway, right? So now is the time to really embrace that, yes, it's the end, and we don't always get closure. We don't always get to have that conversation with them, right? Look back on the conversations you've had with them and let them be your final conversations, because I'm sure there were plenty of times along this relationship where you had given an ultimatum, where you had told them, if you don't do this, I'm going to leave, or if you don't get your act together, this relationship is going to implode. So in fact, do you really need to have that kind of closing conversation when in fact you've been doing it for quite some time? And they just left without a word because they're just stubborn, right? Stubborn, callous, unyielding. All right, so I'm going to call it. This is the second reading. Let's move on to the third reading. Those of you who picked the third pile to the left. The King of Pentacles, Five of Swords, and the Empress. We have hummingbird and tarantula energy. Interesting. Fire and air. We have adjustment, Ace of Swords, and completion. Heaven sent, and release the dark wound, let love live. Okay. All right. So, thank you. All right. Oh, sorry, I was just getting a drink. All right, so, hot on the East Coast. Let's get right into it. So this is an interesting scenario. Let's get right into your energy, your wild animal spirit. We have the tarantula and the hummingbird. Well, now the hummingbird is air energy and is highly industrious and inspiring, right? The hummingbird has a grace about it. the ability to get the job done, right? The ability also to be still, to be quite magical, right, in its work. The hummingbird has has a magical way about going about its work or its task, right? It brings you in. I mean, hummingbird energy is the type of energy everybody wants to be around that. You know, everybody loves the hummingbird energy. They bring a certain magic to their work, to their movement, right? Have you ever seen a hummingbird kind of sit in the air and just hover? They fly and their wings go extremely fast, but they just hover there. It's like as if they don't move at all. They're positive and spiritual, enthusiastic, right? Resourceful. So I want to say that this is certainly your card, because with the sun and having this beautiful energy, right? You're just at this beautiful, like, creative space in your life. Certainly with Ace of Swords coming in, you're feeling extremely inspirational. You're exploring your spirituality. When you follow hummingbird, it's almost like you can't go wrong. You know, there's a virtue with the hummingbird. There's a positivity with the hummingbird, a spiritual resourcefulness with the hummingbird that allows you to get through very difficult scenarios, right? So then we have the tarantula, and the tarantula is fire energy, interestingly enough. The tarantula is at a crossroads, right? You ever see a tarantula in the desert? It's like they're always waiting to make a decision which way to go. You know, they're at a crossroads. You know, the tarantula comes up when there's a great decision to be made. It involves prioritizing life's deeper purpose, or dharma. We call that dharma, right? How we work through our lives, the work we do towards our spirituality. How we go about living our lives is called dharma, right? You may believe in a certain thing, right? But the actions that you put in place, the things that you do, how you follow up your spiritual intention, that is all dharma. And so a habit or a routine from the past might be sidetracking you, right, from your true path. A tarantula comes into place when it's time to have that fire that gets up under your ass and moves you forward, gets you out of a position where you haven't been at purpose with yourself, right? Interestingly enough, you know, tarantula is fire energy, and this can come when somebody just feels like they've been asleep, you know, and when they wake up, it's almost they have this panicked feeling, and then they make a decision. It's just like the tarantula. Sometimes they move very fast once they've made their decision which way to go, right? But in order to find your true happiness, you have to choose the dharma that's right for you. It's time to choose the right path, you know. So it's interesting, right? So one of you has this very, and I believe this is you, this hummingbird energy, this positive, enthusiastic energy. But your partner, I think, was probably going through a very huge, like, difficult, no, I want to say not necessarily difficult, but a big spiritual kind of change. It could be that they have left as a result of that. This kind of decision that where they're at is just not where they want to be. Right? And so we have King of Pentacles here, interestingly enough, and Ace of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. And like I said, both of these cards are for all three piles of all three readings, right? Basically, right? But King of Pentacles is about being very industrious, right? The King of Pentacles, Taurus energy, you see there, right? But it's being industrious, it's being loyal, it's helping those around you, right? Taking care of those around you. Could very much be that this person felt like everybody was very depending on them. They were having a lot of responsibilities. They're having a lot of loyalties. It could be that they were having loyalties to different people. Maybe their loyalties were being questioned or compromised. You, on the other hand, were dealing with the legal issue, right? You're dealing with justice coming in. So I wonder if that was not perhaps one or two of you have been waiting for the end of something, right? Maybe the end of a divorce or a separation. Could be that you're going through a separation or a divorce and you guys were together. Outside of that, you're still waiting for the paperwork or some kind of paperwork to come through. And they're they're with you, but they've been taken care of a lot. It could be that they were just quite tired of being the one responsible. All right, and I don't mean this in a bad way towards you, but it's almost as if like you have a lot of responsibilities here, and yet they're the King of Pentacles. So it almost seems like a lot of the responsibilities that you had, right? It's almost like, were they carrying them, and did they want to carry them? Did they maybe have to do too much? Or did they choose to do a lot and then later on realize that it was too much for them? Could be that they were supporting you in some endeavor. You know, adjustment is Libran energy, right? So we're talking about, a lot of times finding balance, right? Adjustment is balance, it's centering. But it could be also just like a stillness that you're trying to achieve, right? It could be that this doesn't necessarily have to mean actual paperwork, right? But it could also just mean trying to find a balance between families, right? Between lives, between responsibilities that you have. And you know, you can't be distracted right now. It's almost like you're holding perfect balance, but if you get distracted, everything falls down. Could very well be also just in general that because of a lot of the responsibilities you had and distractions you had, that this individual served as a balancer or as a grounder for you. It could be that you were just feeling quite unbalanced in your life. The stresses of your life were almost too much, and so you were relying on this person. But I wonder if this person did not tire of that or feel pressure from that. Could have been inadvertent. You may not have wanted to put pressure on it. Just could be by nature of your life being quite chaotic at times that this was a lot of pressure for them. Certainly they stepped to the plate financially. They definitely were holding you down at one point, right? But then Ace of Swords we have here and Five of Swords. So it's interesting that at some point somebody started to feel like they were being lied to. I think your individual started to feel like they were being lied to. They weren't being told the whole truth. Maybe the things you were keeping, you know. Ace of Swords talks about new communication, right? A new idea, big idea forming, right? An invention, inspiration coming in, right? New idea at work, or new idea for a project, right? Or new, it could also be communication that comes in that's kind of vindicates you, right? That can be vindicating you. Like if you've been standing up for a particular stance, right? You have a certain stance and everybody's been kind of knocking you down because you had no proof. And it's almost as if the Ace of Swords is that proof that you needed to say, you see everybody, I was right after all. Give me my victory. You know, I know you didn't believe me, but look at that, right? So the Ace of Swords always comes in to clarify misunderstandings, to vindicate those who have not had proof, you know, for their position, or have not been able to sustain their position, right? Or for relationships that have kind of gone out of whack because the communication has become off kilter. It's interesting because your person, I think your person was feeling very much like Five of Swords is a defeat, but it's a hollow victory for someone, right? So someone's defeated and someone gets a hollow victory because the Five of Swords is all about cheating and, you know, backstabbing, lying, gossiping, the kind of things that you do to win at all costs, right? And so when you're dealing with people who operate like that, it's, you know, it's like it's some people, you know, you don't even want to enter into the battle. It's like you generally like are disgusted with that behavior. You see that their winning is, you know, your defeat. If you're on the defeating end of this energy, it's not even a defeat. It's like oh please, you know, because Five of Swords is a power struggle, and the other individual who comes out with the so-called victory almost always play dirty, you know, to get that victory, right? So I wonder here if they didn't feel like they were at the either they were the ones who were behaving in that way, right? Or maybe I think they feel like they were the victim. I'm gonna be honest. I think that your person felt like you were lying to them, or somebody's been lying to them, that they've been at the end of trickery. I think they now this, you may say they're being paranoid, right? Because you're presenting with Ace of Swords and you're like, no, I've been trying to tell them the truth. You know, you have the Sun, which is affirmations and things coming out into the light. So your cards don't indicate deception, certainly with hummingbird energy, but I want to almost wonder if this person wasn't just kind of very a self-defeatist almost, right? A very kind of negative individual, an individual who always felt like everybody was out to get them, right? This person could be somebody who got angry quite quick, right? Someone who holds a grudge. You know, someone who, once they believe people are out to kind of mess with them or to cheat them, it's very difficult for them to believe otherwise, right? And then we have the Empress, creativity and completion. So whereas you're looking for more commitment and stability in a relationship, right? This is commitment and stability from the thought deck. It's 4 of Wands, so Venus and Aries. This is finding new ways to expand your relationship, right, and to more territories of stability. So while you're trying to find that, your individual is kind of taking a step back and saying, "Hang on a second, you know what? I need time for me. Right? I need time for me. I've had enough." I think your person felt very worn out with this relationship. I think they felt very much like they were having to deal with a lot of chaos, a lot of ups and downs. I think that it could very well be that there were other people in your life that interfered with this relationship and made them feel as though they were being ganged up again. It could be friends of yours, family of yours. There may have been some things that have happened behind the scenes here. People who have said things to this person that has almost inflamed their sense of betrayal or their paranoia about the betrayal, right? And so they very much decide to go off on their own. They say, no, F this, I don't want this, and this is why they've ghosted. They've decided to go right off into their Empress and nurture themselves, or they decided to move on to somebody else who's come into the picture and presented themselves as Empress energy, as someone who will be more nurturing. So where they're coming from an energy here where they felt like they had to give and give and give, it could be that somebody came into their life and said, you don't have to give so much to this. I can give to you. And they split for that person. All right? They left, you know. This is quite interesting energy. I feel like some things happened here that you weren't necessarily aware of. Communication happened here that you weren't necessarily aware of. But this person either decided to leave for their own good, or I believe this Empress energy came into, someone came in, it's not gender specific, but someone came in who was willing to give them what they needed. Somewhere along the line, you know, someone lost track of what this individual needed. And I think that this person here who left, who did the ghosting, may not have told or may not have said anything, but they were really getting a lot of negative energy coming their way. I think they felt like they were being used. But I also think that somebody came into them and took advantage of that feeling and offered them all of this nurturing that they felt they weren't getting in this scenario, right? And meanwhile, you're over here possibly trying to prove to them, you know, with the Ace of Swords, look, this isn't what you're thinking isn't true, but they're almost so far. You know, it's almost gone so far and they've felt so strongly about it, and it's been going on for so long they may not have told you that in the meantime somebody has wiggled in and kind of just snatched them away and gave them everything, you know, gave them all the Empress, all the nurturing, you know, really laid that on. You know, when you put on your divine Empress energy, you know, that loving, nurturing, caring energy for somebody who feels as though they've been in almost a drought of caring, right? Or they feel like they've been neglected, they can very easily be pulled away from a scenario. You know, and I think that this is what's happened. This person got in, or someone got in and got this person thinking about their life's choices and do they really need to put in, and they've got them to leave. Right? Now, whether they're sincere or not, I don't know. Like, this is really very much to do with this individual. It could be that there is room to mend this if the communication is there. We have release dark wound and let love live. So interestingly enough, release the dark wound talks about all kinds of opinions that we have that hold us back, you know. Sometimes we have very inflated egos, right? And sometimes we have feelings like, well, this isn't my fault, it's their fault. Let them come back, or what have you, you know. Whatever it is, it's holding on to a way of thinking that keeps you restricted, that doesn't allow your love to live. It could be that you've been listening to other people. Other people may have been in your life saying things to you. I almost wonder if this Five of Swords is as a result of a lot of people sticking their noses into your affairs and kind of putting their finger into that wound, into that dark energy, right? So that there's a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of chaos. And in chaos, sometimes, you know, love and harmony can't really grow. If you keep people constantly confused and chaotic and unsure and distrustful, then it's very difficult for love to live there. And somewhere along the line, that's happened here. And so all of this kind of dark energy, this kind of invasive, chaotic energy has to be let go, has to be released. There has to be more communication, more love, more understanding, less finger pointing, right? Less, well, if you didn't do this, I wouldn't have had to do this, you know. We have to very much take responsibility for our actions, right? In order for love to really live, and start to kind of like be more open to why people make certain decisions. They might not be the best decision, but what was their intention, right? And so then to let go, you know, to let go of judgment, to let go, release that kind of like hold that you have, right? And through that, true love can kind of like come together. You can get that harmony that right now just isn't there. Heaven Sent talks about getting extra messages. So this card comes in when you're getting messages, when you're getting omens coming into your life, right? You may be seeing omens. You may be having meditation. You may be feeling a spirit come into you. That is there to support you. Do you feel like it's helping you? A lot of times this comes in the form of intuition, picking up on your inner voice, on the inner messages that come in, listening to messages all around you. Messages can come in songs that we hear on the radio, you know, when you pay attention to, a certain song that's coming on the radio, then you listen to the lyrics of that song. Oftentimes those can be messages coming in from the divine spirit. Pictures, images, right? When we say omens or totems, we mean things that might, you know, even a certain card that you associate with something, a memory. If you keep seeing that particular make or model of that card, that can be a totem or an omen. So messages like this all coming in. You have a lot of spiritual messages coming in right now that are there to help you. It's time to listen to some of them. Some of those messages might be telling you that you have certain friends in your life that are instigating themselves into your relationship and causing some of these communication problems, right? Or causing this to have happened, right? Like I said, I feel in this scenario, this happened very much in a way like, you know, you weren't expecting it. You didn't think it was as bad as it was. I'm not even sure if you're aware of this Empress energy that may or may not have come into your person. It's really like they just split. And to you, it almost seems like, you know, when they began, it's like they gave you no time to deal with their displeasure, right? Or their unhappiness. It's like you only just found out how unhappy they were, and you feel like, well, give me time to fix this, right? But to them, they feel like they've been dealing with this long enough, and they were just very much easily whisked away with the promise, I believe, of more nurturing elsewhere. So this relationship here does have a possibility for a change, you know. It does have a possibility for a different stage coming in, but that's going to take a lot of hard work and communication and attentiveness, I believe, on your part to what it is they perceived has been going on, and as well attentiveness to your wider social and family circle to see what's been going on that you may not have known about. All right, so this is it. This is the final reading. Thank you so much. Sound off below. Let me know which pile of cards resonated with you the most, or which card resonated with you the most, representative. I'm going to be doing, this is going to be a series, so I'm going to be answering more kind of questions and ideas in this way. This is a response to a lot of the comments and requests I've had for private readings to deal with some of these issues, and so I think this was a very good layout that I've come on. I meditated on this for a few days to find the perfect kind of way to lay out the cards so I can convey the message that I need to convey. And so if this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can go to the top of the link at the top of your screen if you'd like to get a private reading. If any of this has resonated with you, you want to go a little bit deeper into the questions, all right? But for right now, thank you so much for coming by to Bow and Arrow Tarot. I love you. Bye-bye.